Hello YouTube, take two. With this game getting rollback, I wanted to do a little tutorial of some sorts for people that are just getting into it. Let's get some... First things first, I'm not doing a tutorial for the game's mechanics. I am doing a tutorial for Blazblue specific hurdles. These are systems that I don't see in other games all that much, or they're just like quirks of Blazblue, but they're pretty important. If you play Blazblue and you don't know them, the game's still alright, but if you play versus a Blazblue player, they're kind of playing a different game, and they can just obliterate you because they have this knowledge and you don't. So I'm trying to offer something that's in between the tutorial that will be like, hey, you have a double jump, barrier works this way, all of that, right? I think those resources already exist. There's a tutorial in the game, there's guys on YouTube, and the other end of that is just like reading the wiki. So I kind of want to condense it in the middle, right? So that's what we'll do. I condensed it to at least 5 things that are Blazblue specific. It might go a little above that, and I might dip into some of the specifics of the game. But for the most part, these are just like top 5 Blazblue things you need to know to not lose to Sajam's Discord. Alright? So, the first one is move attributes. Blazblue is an attribute game. What does that mean? That means that when you have moves that are meant to crush something, they have a hard property to be invulnerable to that thing. The most common example is jump-ins and anti-airs. So, jump-ins and anti-airs are like, if they do a jump-in, right, and I do an anti-air, I will like always be invuln to it, provided that I do my anti-air like fast enough, right? So, that's what's happening right there, right? And I want to show what makes that invulnerability happen, or at least what's the visual to tell you that an invulnerability is happening. And this will take a little bit. Nope. It is so hard to snipe, but I don't know if you can see, there was like a blue little circle when she jumps, right? As soon as my attack tries to go through hers, there's like a circle around this thing. That's the sign of invul. Rather, I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna jump forward and then just grab it. Because Amane has a grab invul move. You should be able to see it. Or maybe not. Oh, I guess he's airborne. Okay, that's not even gonna be an example that works. Whatever. But the point being, invuln is what happens when there's invuln. It just ignores the traditional hitbox interaction. That means that if Noelle is doing a jump in on me, and I anti-air, my anti-air is going to be it's going to beat it every time, right? There's a caveat to that, and we'll get to it, but for now this is what we're working with. The types of invulnerability that you can have are throw, projectile, head moves. Head moves are generally going to be jump-ins, and so jump-ins will have properties that are head. Therefore, head invuln moves beat those moves. I don't know if that made sense, but I think I nailed it. The other ones that you can have are body invuln and foot invuln. So those are the properties. One way to visually tell them is usually the move will have like a visual that looks like it's invuln to something. For anti-airs, it's pretty obvious. They're anti-airs. Most anti-airs in the game are head invuln. Some characters are not. That's on you to know that, but for the most part, anti-airs just work that way. Foot invuln is pretty simple. So my character has this, which is pretty foot invuln because he's kind of jumping above the ground, right? He's kind of like leaping up. So if Noelle does something like this, I can kind of just like hop over it. Sometimes it'll show like that I actually invulned it. In the case of my character, He's kind of airborne. But if Noelle was to do a move that like could hit high enough to connect with my hurt box, I would just go through it. Okay. Basic. I think Noelle herself has like a move that is like that. I could try and find it. Oh, it's this one, yeah. Like she jumps above the ground, so you can kind of tell it's a foot invul move. If you don't know, if you didn't know at first, like it's hard to tell, but this is usually the consistent rule. If the character hops above the ground, they're foot invul. Body invul, I don't know if there's a visual cue to tell for that one. You kind of have to know. That's why I picked Noelle, actually, because Noelle's drive is kind of like a move that has overall body invul, right? If she does stuff, she's going under something, that's probably body invul. It'll look like a low profile, but it's actually just full invulnerability to standing pose. So I'll try this, because it looks like it's body invul. Yeah, she kind of invulned it. There you go. But if I do a low, it blows her up. So Noelle's a pretty good example because most of her moves are like invuln to a particular type of things. Which is funny because for my interactions, like one of the classic Noelle reversal is to just do this. It eats your standing meaties and all of that stuff. But my character would just go for a jump in, and because jump ins are not body move, that move only has body invulnerability. Right? So she's kind of like the quintessential example to understand that system. For the most part, it just means your move is invuln to other stuff. And they're not like fully invuln. The invuln starts a little later into startup. I can't mash this versus lows, and it's a reversal. Yada yada. So I'm telling you this example because there's going to be characters that are like really not clear about which move has stuff. I think this character has one of the worst defenders. This is an overhead, but her feet kind of leave the ground, so it's foot invul, right? If I try to do a 2A here, my 2A is a foot move. So, oops, she just goes through it, and it makes no sense visually, right? But you can see like there was a little circle there. It's kind of gone. But that's one of the examples of like, this move is foot invul, your 2A jab is a foot move, therefore it's going to crush it. So, weird interaction. If you're playing Blazblue and you encounter these, they make no sense at first, but once you know that that's the system, okay. Much easier to play with it. The other case where this is relevant in gameplay is that anti-airs are not head invul in frame 1. So one thing that is possible in Blazblue is to do preemptive jump-ins. Find Ragna. And like the complete opposite end. Is 2A low? Are all foot moves low? No. Foot invuln is not dependent on your move being a low to be foot invuln. It is dependent on your move hitting low enough. But it's arbitrary either way, right? So no, not all foot moves are low. One case where that was relevant, like I was saying, is this move right here, my anti-air, is head invuln around frame 5. So as long as I do it fast enough, it is generally going to beat jump-ins. But you can snipe that startup window because I'm standing up, I'm super tall, and everything like that. So one thing Ragnar can do is like do this. I kind of know it's coming, so I kind of maybe that should work. Oh, I need to get hit. Okay. It'll be really hard to demonstrate what I'm trying to say, but if you do a preemptive jump in with Ragnar, like super early on, they kind of blow anti-airs up a little bit because you need to do a preemptive anti-air to beat them. If you do this right, it can actually stuff anti-airs, but it's kind of hard to demonstrate. I just know there's probably setups that facilitate showing that or doing that in gameplay. That's one of the cases where you're going to be like, oh, my anti-air is supposed to be invulnerable, but someone is actually doing something with the frame data that beats your stuff. So that was the first one. This is move invulnerability and move attributes. So let's move on to the second one. Okay, BlazBlue is a combo heavy game. So that was something light, just a niche property in BlazBlue. BlazBlue is a combo heavy game. This is kind of your priority if you're starting out. If you want to be scary for other players when you're facing them, a lot of that is just going to go on how much damage you can squeeze out of any hits. So I'm going to go to challenge mode really quickly and maybe do a few things. I don't think I have one that's like ready. I'll talk through it pretty quickly. But yeah, when you're starting out, if you don't have like your full conversions, your full combos, you're just not scary to another player. Because if I hit you, I'm going to do like 3,000, 4,000, and your average damage is going to be 1,000, 2,000, and then you're going to drop. So one way to just be really scary in BlazBlue is start learning your combos. Then it means every hit you do turns into something meaningful. And that's kind of the first homework that you really have to put into the game to start making the opponent like not be comfortable around you when they're playing neutral and all that stuff. So how can you learn combos? Well, there's trials in the game. They're pretty good. They're a little incomplete. They're not going to give you actual optimized BNBs. You kind of have to infer what they're trying to impart onto you, which is twofold. So I have to talk a little bit about the combo theory in the game. BlazBlue's combo theory works on a timer. When you hit the opponent with a starter, you're allowed to do a certain length of a combo. This, again, is arbitrary, but there's overarching rules. If you hit them with a light attack, then you can do a short combo. If you hit them with a meaty, like, big attack, like, they shouldn't get hit by that, your B buns, your C buns, then you can do a longer combo. Every combo piece you can do works at the start of the combo, but the further you go into the combo, the less options you have. And some of that is kind of shown here. What this combo trials are trying to show you is like each little Lego piece. This is a visual analogy that I have for this combo system, is they're each trying to connect like a few ideas together and saying like, here's the Lego that you start the combo with. This Lego stacks on top of another Lego that's your standard combo theory. And here's the Lego piece that works whenever hit stun has kind of decayed and you are strained into what you can do during the combo. So it won't ever tell you this, but it is structured in a way that is hinting at that. So I'll just quickly progress here, so I can maybe show an example. Actually, that might take a while. It was off the cuff, I didn't plan anything. But yeah, I'll just do it for my character pretty quickly, just to kind of show what it could be saying. Okay, this is a good example. The combo trial will set you up in situations where you have a different scenario that starts the combo. This one's obvious. I'm in the corner. Super obvious, right? So, this is what you do in the corner. This is what this trial was meant to show me for now. This is the Lego piece that starts the corner stuff. Okay. This is an example that just shows me, hey, you have these buttons. This is how they connect. This is the Lego piece for your C buttons. Okay, I got that. Cool. Usually the trial will try to put you in a situation where it's like it's starting at the right spacing or it's doing the correct thing, but that might vary. Here's another example. The dummy is jumping and it's asking me to hit with this attack. Now I could hit them standing like I did just a few seconds ago, but it's kind of hinting you like this is an anti-air situation, so it's just showing you if you do this button as an air hit, this is how you convert to the rest of the thing. This one. This one is starting to show you if you're airborne and you have this jump 2B button, it leads to this type of conversion. Again, I'm just speedrunning through this, just so we can get to a maybe more meaningful example, because the combo trial will revisit same idea. It's structured in a way where each little combo piece is simple, and then you get a more complex version of that same scenario, and then you get a more complex version of that same scenario. So I just want to get through the first 10, and then we'll get through the second one. Here's another example. Hey, this is a counter hit starter. Counter hits don't have the same behavior, so this is probably something specific. And in this case, it is. Alright. So they're not necessarily going to be BNBs, they're just going to be something useful. Generally speaking, just something kind of useful. Let me try and show an example of one that shows what I want to say. This. Alright, this is pretty good. Alright, you do the right thing. So, I can tell you from playing this character a lot, this combo piece, this like air conversions of doing, it's gonna be back there. No. Mission select. This conversion of doing like jump B, jump C, all that stuff, that's a central combo piece. One way that you can tell that is when you keep going through the missions, it's going to have more examples of that combo, right? Different variations on this same concept. So if I go to number 10, it'll say like, okay, you're here. And then you want to do this ender. I'm kind of showing it for brevity, but please trust me. And it's the same as the other one you were doing. Again, the game doesn't show that link, but it's there. It's there if you're like connecting dots, if you're paying attention. Okay, this is the same thing as the other one. So use it in that manner. It's great to teach you between the lines your combo theory, but it's not necessarily great at giving you a BNB. For that, I will link to Minnow, which is a channel on YouTube that does a shit ton of combo BNBs video for your characters. They're all pretty basic, they're all pretty advanced. Your character probably has a combo video there that's just like 10 minutes with notation, with everything. Great resource to get started. Really cool. So I think I kind of said everything that I had to say about that. Yeah, but really the important part is learn your combos, learn your theory. You'll be way more scarier if you do that. Now I gotta get back to training mode because this one is the absolute longest one to explain. Let's talk about rolls and the knockdowns. if you want to take notes, this is now. Because I am going to have to cite like a bunch of examples and exceptions and all of that, and it's really, really long to go through correctly. So in this game, there are two types of knockdowns. There's emergency enabled knockdown, which means the opponent can tech right away, right? And there is hard knockdown, where there's like a little pause before you're allowed to tech, right? Both are not, like, I say hard knockdown, but it's not really a hard knockdown, and you'll see why in a second. But there's a key difference between both. In the emergency tech setup, if you hold A to tech, by the way, you hold A to tech in this game, as a heads up. If you hold A to tech, you'll tech immediately. Great, super. In the emergency, hard knockdown, if you hold A to tech whenever it's possible, you'll tech. Awesome. However, let's go with disabled. Actually, I'm gonna get disabled. Oops. Okay, so this is a hard knockdown from the opponent. If I hold the tech, I'm getting up. Let me see if I can just display my input history so it makes sense. And control stick. No. Player side low. Okay, cool. So if I hold the tech here, great. I'm getting emergency tech. If I want to block on wake up, as a beginner, this is a hurdle that you're going to encounter. When you get hard knockdown, you have access to rolls. And to roll in this game, you have to hold the direction and then press the button to tech. But rolls are vulnerable, right? So if you accidentally hold back and hold the button on a hard knockdown, you'll actually put yourself vulnerable to something like this, right? So now I'm rolling, and he catches my roll. Alright. So, general practice, if you want to be safe when you're starting, hold the button. You'll always get a emergency knockdown. Life is good. You're invulnerable while you get the regular tech or emergency knockdown. So what's the difference between a hard knockdown and a non-hard knockdown? Well, the rolls are only available if you let the emergency window go. On a hard knockdown, that happens right away, so the rolls are available right away. On an emergency knockdown, if you hold the tech, you'll do emergency. If you don't hold the tech, you are stuck for a little bit. There's a 20 frame something delay. It's a little more, but you know. There's a 20-something frame delay where you're not allowed to tech again, and you're not allowed to pick any other option. You're just forced to stay on the ground. Once that delay is gone, you can then choose to tech with one of the options. Either normal tech, which is fully invul, or rolls, which have vulnerabilities. So, to sum up, you either tech right away on a regular knockdown, or you don't, and you're forced to wait 20 frames, and then you can do a tech option as if it was a hard knockdown, right? If it's a hard knockdown, it's going into that right away. So visually how it looks, I have the dummy set to disabled emergency roll, right? So if I do, you see, pause, and then E-text. Pause, and then E-text, right? If I set it back up to enable, flash white, tech. Tech, as soon as you hit the ground. Tech. But if I disable it, pause, tech. It's quite fast, but this is what's happening. And then if I change the wake up option, like say this into back roll, you'll back roll. This into forward roll, you'll forward roll. The forward roll can cross up, just like that. And the last options you have, so you have back roll, forward roll, regular tech, or you have quick. Quick is just a no invuln, like fastest way to get up. It's slightly faster than regular attack, but like I can punch it. Those are the options. If I set the dummy to backward, but set the emergency roll to enabled, the game does not let you back roll on an emergency roll. So even though the dummy is set to back roll, the knockdown doesn't allow it because they're holding the tech. If I do a hard knockdown, then it'll back roll. Okay, so that's first thing first. When you're starting, what do you need to do? You need to hold the tech. You need to wait until your character starts flashing white. Because that's the sign that you teched and that you are invuln. Then you can start blocking. This is the I don't want to learn this, I just want to play short version. If you want to learn this, you can push this super far. Because when an opponent makes a regular knockdown on you, you're not forced to tech right away. You can kind of stay there, and you are vulnerable. At some point, it can just hit you and start a new combo from that state, right? But you can kind of wait your timing a little bit, vary it, do other stuff. Why is that relevant? Well, even though you roll and you're vulnerable, there's still invulnerability at the start of the roll. Back has the most, forward has the least, and the quick get up has none. What this forces your opponent to do is, if they're trying to chase your back roll, they need to kind of like time it. I'm going to use the Jin as an example for this, because it's pretty easy to showcase. So like, I'll do 3C and then chase the roll, right? Messed it up there. Messed it up there. As you can see, there's invuln. I'm messing it up. There you go. So now I have a back roll chase. I'm like hard calling, you're going to do back roll. Sweet. Here's what my opponent can do suddenly. You start doing forward roll, and because I'm chasing to beat the back roll invuln, the forward roll wins, basically, right? So let's say I try to catch the back roll. Oh, they switch sides. Right? Because I'm chasing that time. So the dynamic that this creates is you can rarely beat every tech option in the game. You can try, but generally you'll try to target like 2 or 3 of these, right? 2 out of 3 options. If you don't want to target their back roll, okay, they're back rolling, they're pushing themselves into the corner, you still have frame advantage. It's not that bad. Right? You can just check the forward roll just to prevent the side switch or something like that. If you chase the back roll and the forward tech, you still have frame advantage, you don't have the positioning, it's a bit of a scramble, but it's kind of okay. The general rule of what you want to do is kind of just like try to beat one, and if they don't do it, for some reason they're like changing their stuff, most of the frame data in the game is kind of like allows you to do a thing that catches the backdash, but also let you meaty if you do something else. I don't think I'll be able to like showcase this pretty well with Jin. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to showcase this pretty well with Jin. So like, if I try to catch the backdash with 2A, with the back roll with 2A, then I can still meaty with 5B. It's catching one of the rolls, but it's still letting me get a meaty. That's what I meant by like, you can do 2 out of 3 options. So one thing that you should try with your character in the first few weeks is to at least get a setup that like catches back roll or forward roll every now and then. What that should look like is something like you chase the dash that you want to catch. In this case, I'm trying to catch backward tech. And you buffer a normal and hit confirm from there. Right? If I do anything else from that, right, then like they can still meaty. Oops. That's probably a better example, right? Where, okay, I got hit, I'm back taking, oh, they're still mediating. But if I try to like roll forward, then that'll catch me. I didn't buffer something there, but you can buffer that. So this is a really, really good thing to have, and it's also a really, really good thing to understand. Your opponent will try to roll on, will try to escape your offense and make it a little scramblier. Like, are you good if I change this timing? Are you good if I do that option? Do you know your way to catch this from this knockdown, right? So it's on you to also know, okay, from this knockdown, what do I do if they try to do this? What do I do if I try to do that? Just like general problem solving that's super relevant in this game. If you don't do it, someone's just gonna roll out of all your setups. You're never gonna get Oki, or it's gonna be like really hard. And they're gonna catch your rolls, which means they're gonna punish you, or they're gonna get better setups versus your emergency knockdowns. My character has like kind of these safe jumps that work super well versus emergency knockdown. They're like gonna beat you every time. Right? If you reversal, that works. It's my turn. I'm starting my pressure. And they're also like pretty decent versus certain roll options because I'm jumping in with a move. Sorry, I'm jumping in with a move that's like super active. So trying to do that. Oops. So I can also catch the backdash, right? But if I'm like doing that, you can still blow it up in certain ways. Like, okay, what if I just delay my emergency attack? Then it's like not really a safe jump. And from there, I have to start doing like different things that are reacting correctly to what you do to get tight meaties, stuff like that, right? It's still technically like my turn, but if you're doing that, right? Oops. Like, that's no longer a safe jump. It's at least a ground meaty. You get a chance to reversal suddenly, and I just got to hold that. There's still things that you can do to probably beat that. Okay, now I know you're delaying your rolls or your tech, so I can kind of catch you into that 20 frame window where you can't do anything, that lockout, right? Because the combo system works on timer, if I do a short starter, then I can do a full combo if you choose to not tech, right? This is called like a blue beak trap or something like that, tech trap. This is a thing in this game. There's a ton of it. Each character has their own specificity depending on which knockdown they did. Right now you saw me do the tornado knockdown, but sometimes I'll have to do this. And like, if you delay that, it's this one again. If you delay that, free combo expansion. Boom, you just added an extra 2,000 damage to my combo, maybe 1,500. If you don't do that, then like, if I do that, oh, I have no meat because you suddenly started doing something again. So it's kind of this dance back and forth with the players. He likes to tech that way, so I need to lean on these options. And you as a player should be like, I'm not going to stick to these options, I'm kind of going to bounce around, pick many. It goes really deep. You can really push that system a lot. Like, okay, I'm gonna delay all my tech options, and then I'm gonna wake up backdash because backdash have invulns, and it's like, good luck doing Oki on those characters, right? Or on those players rather. Now there's still kind of universal Oki. My character in the corner, for instance, I'm going to throw this tornado. It's going to catch any rolls, and it stays active so that when you tech, the tornado meaties you. Those stuff still exist. But you don't always get access to those, or not every character always has those. So this system is really rich, and it's probably where an experienced player will, I guess, cheese a new player the most. You just have to know your stuff. You just have to play with it, internalize it. It's really nice once you do. It's really useful, but it's one of the densest systems to learn. Okay, were there any questions on that? Because, ooh, that was a big one. So yeah, I'll just summarize a little bit your objectives. You should try to have a combo from a roll option that your opponent is doing. Like if they're rolling, okay, here's how I catch it. You should try to practice that combo just so that you're good to know. You should practice the timing. You can do that with those two options. Not necessarily at the start, but just like take your time with it, you know. This is something that you flesh out over time a lot. Let's go to the next one. Throw, reject, miss. Alright, this one's fun. Throws in BB have a few gimmicks that you can get cheesed on. So let's start by just looking at a throw. Throw have a with animation. They're there. Pretty standard stuff. They're pretty fast. That's cool. Now you see there's this like green exclamation mark. I don't know if you can see it all that well on stage. On this stage. If I go here. Whenever you grab them, this thing appears, right? And this thing is, mamma mia, this thing is like there to let you react. Throws are reactable. I put in quotes just because there's a lot of things to react to, but individually throws are reactable. And you can tech them. So the window is super friendly. That's cool. The first quirk of the throw system is you can throw out of blocks done. And you notice the exclamation mark was pink, right? Normally in other games, like your throw will just whiff, but in this game you can't throw out of blocks done. And not only is the exclamation mark different, it's like way longer of a window where you can actively tech. This is called a purple throw. They only happen when you do them during a combo or hit stun. Purple throws are there for a reason, but at first it doesn't kind of make sense. It's kind of just like, are you checking me for a throw? Are you checking me that I'm paying attention? You kind of need to watch for them mid combos because someone could just decide to try and purple throw you. And the kind of sad thing about it is, if you do a purple throw, it does fully unscaled damage, and the damage starter on throws is about like 1,000 to 2,000. You do what you want with this information. Either you cheese people online for the first week and have a blast, or you prevent yourself from getting cheese from people online because this is the netplay special. This is what works versus people that don't know what your combos are or anything like that. You just like, are you paying attention? Are you teching this throw? So be warned, or have a blast using it, right? You do what you want with it. It's not super viable at high level, but since it's going to be for a lot of new people that are just getting into the game, it's pretty useful to know. But Purple Throw has a different purpose. In this game, there's a system called TRM. Can I set that up? I'll have to set a dummy to do something on me. That's perfect. So, oops, if I try to press throw, right? If I try to press throw too early to take a throw, and this could be frustrating for you, you'll get what is called a throw reject miss. If you try to tech throw and there's no throw that happens, you're locked out from taking a throw for the next half second, 30 frames, something like that. This works pretty close to the throws in Under Night, I was told. I think the only difference is, like, in Under Night, you can't take a throw if you've shielded or something like that. Like, it's a little different. I haven't played that game, but I've heard that if you've played Under Night, they're a pretty similar system. In Blazblue, this lets you do kind of two different things. I said earlier throws are reactable, but it's, like, on the fringe. There are OS in the game where you can kind of press ABC, like I'm doing right now, just 3 buttons at once. On block, it gives you barrier, and if the opponent tries to throw you, you kind of just tech, right? But if they do anything else, then, you know, that happens. So you're not necessarily reacting to that. You can kind of do this OS in the game. This is a really big OS, really prevalent. You can even tell when the player is doing it. They just start, like, barriering and unbarriering during pressure. Like, that's kind of weird. They're probably using throw OS. So one way for you to beat that is the TRM setup. Okay. If you run at them, right, and they press like this thing, and oh no, they can't tag. You get a free throw, unblockable. They can't do anything about it, right? The only thing really they can do is either jump or escape the throw, but they can't like tech the throw. This is important for beginners for two reasons. One, if you try to tech throws too early, you might get TRM by accident, and you're like, well, I teched that throw, and it's like, no, there's a system that actually locks you out from teching the throw. It's kind of weird, there's that. And the second one is, well, at higher level, that lets you have an OS versus throws to help you deal with them, and it lets you have an option to kind of hard call out those things. One thing you should know is you can get locked out of throws at any given point. So if you're like pressing buttons while you're being comboed, if the opponent throws you, you might get TRF. You know, so don't press B and C during combos. Kind of not a thing that you are incentivized to do, but it's an actual concern for your safety in this game. So I think that explains everything about throws. Yeah, that kind of explains everything about throws. And we're gonna move on to the last point. The last point we're getting here. Overdrive. Actually, this is gonna be a pretty big point because I'm going to talk about Overdrive and the pressure structure overall in the game. Overdrive. What is Overdrive? I'm gonna remove the display for inputs. Input history. Below my character, there's like this little, below both avatars, there's like this little orange circle. This is your burst. If you press all 4 buttons during that time, you'll just burst and it will consume the thing. Overdrive is what happens when you, let's say in Guilty Gear terms, you gold burst. You burst while nothing's happening. Universally, that'll activate like an install for your character for a few seconds, and you can do like a bunch of crazy shit. It's specific to your character. Some are better, some are worse. Jin is like the crazy overdrive man. Amani is kind of just like, I get the drill. Right, so it varies, but it's a system universally. The activation acts as a screen pause, and you're completely invulnerable during it. There's like a little pause until it comes back, but you're completely invulnerable. The important thing that I want to convey here is that you don't need to learn your overdrive stuff, you need to learn your overdrive cancel stuff. This is a super important mechanic that's going to help you both as a beginner and both for high level, in the sense that as a beginner, I'll explain the mechanic first. It'll probably help. So you got Jin right here doing this big block string, right? This is a shitty block string by the way, but I just need him to do something big. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't know anything about this game. Jin is running amok over me. What's this pressure? I die to pressure. One answer that you can have that's kind of universal is this overdrive guard cancel. If you press overdrive or burst while you're blocking, you'll actually cancel out of hit stun. And fully just screen pause, check what your opponent's doing. Okay, you're doing that, huh? Yeah, nice, cool. There's a bit of startup there, so it can't completely be abused. However, I made Jin do a very high commitment move. I should set it down to block. Okay, now he'll block. So, Jin's doing something. Oh, I just didn't roll him through his move. And he already committed to it, so he couldn't have done anything about it. Yes. That's a thing. There's counterplay to it, to some extent, but it does let you go through whatever your opponent is doing and probably get a combo from yourself. That depends on the move that they did, that depends on the situation, but it's okay. Overdrive cancel got you covered either way. Because if you just hold burst, you'll do an exceed axle. This looks like a super, everyone has one, but it is just an attack that's available from Overdrive if you hold it or repress all 4 buttons. You can cancel into it, you can combo into it, all of that. For the purpose here of this video, it's also reversal. It has full invuln startup, and it's quite tough to punish if you don't know what to do. Like, you kind of need to not barrier, you need to probably instant block it, and you need to be like ready. Because it is punishable, but it's really, really precise. So now you're like, okay, I'm doing pressure, and my opponent can just like blow me up at any time for doing Overdrive cancel into Exceed Axle. Alright, that's pretty good. Yes, indeed. It's pretty good. If you're on defense, you can also do that yourself. You don't need to know anything about the cast. You kind of just need to know, like, okay, you're doing block string on me. Are you going to overextend? Right? Oh, you overextended. My turn. Simple version, just going to EA. Longer version, you do your character-specific Overdrive cancel thing. So that's really useful when you start, right? Super cool. What are the other benefits of it? Well, haha, glad you asked. Let me find the Overdrive icon. Set it so it is. Do I have Exceed Axle? Normal. Okay. There's another system in the game called Exceed Axle. Now you'll notice under my burst icon, it just started flashing purple, right? If you hit an Exceed Axle, you'll activate Active Flow, and it happens once per round. Active Flow just kind of regenerates your burst like 3 to 4 times the speed. So as you can see, like, I've barely done anything already, and it's kind of already filled back up from 3 to 8. So you're most likely going to get a burst again later this round. Or an Overdrive again. I think you still get access to your Exceed Axle, but the Active Flow part, you can only do it once per round. Here's another thing that's relevant. If you decide to burst, hey, this Jin is going to do this to me. You don't go back down to 3. You go back down to 0. And you can't Active Flow for the rest of the round, even if you hadn't used it yet, even if it didn't happen. Active Flow is kind of its own system. It can activate in multiple ways. For the purpose of the video, it's activatable. You can activate it guaranteed by doing Exceed Axle, so kind of just need to know that for now. But it kind of happens organically in gameplay as well. So, alright. You're getting a reversal on block versus whatever. Almost whatever. You're getting a pause button, so you can choose whether or not you do the reversal on block. Okay. And it gives you more of that reversal resource. Yeah, man, Overdrive guard cancel is a mechanic, and it's really helpful. Keeps players from doing bullshit block strings that last forever, in a way. So when you don't have it, then they can just like run on your face. When you do have it, then you kind of have to respect it if you use it. If you don't use it, then they're not forced to really do honest pressure. But if you do it, each character's pressure is kind of structured to be, here's the part that you can do before they activate Overdrive and be safe. So like, for Amane, it looks like lesser of a pressure. As soon as I start going for like these big, long buttons, or this thing, or this thing, or this thing, then you can just Overdrive and blow all of that up, right? But each character has like burst, not burst safe, but Overdrive safe pressure. This helps you defend versus them, because suddenly if you have Overdrive up and they know you have it up and that you use it, they need to start doing pressure that's like way more predictable for you to be able to escape. It's helping you both ways. It's giving you leverage when you do blow up someone for it, and it's giving you leverage when they're even checking you for overdrive. The worst that happens is you overdrive, you still have access to exceed axle, the reversal for the next 4 seconds, and if you don't do it, you kind of just reset to neutral or create an ambiguous situation that probably lets you out of blocks, or close to. Or close to, sorry. So, what does that pressure look like for a lot of people? Well, some characters have better ones. Jin, I think, is a pretty good example. This button is sort of overdrive safe, and it can be jump canceled. So, like, you do this into pressure, you can kind of leave that. Right? And because you're jumping and landing, if they overdrive, you'll just like... Right? If they do something like that, like... and you overdrive through it, then they can kind of land and they still get frame advantage because they didn't commit to a move, they were jumping. So, you know, there's options in counterplay versus overdrive, but it is a big dynamic. It'll help you get out of block strings you don't understand, and just overall give you better resources. The other thing overdrive got cancelled is fantastic again. Use Jin again. Jin has this overhead. I can't react to it. I'm a normal human being. I'm not like some machine, right? But with overdrive got cancelled. Oh, this is a really slow move. Cool. You blow it up, right? So you can't like, you can expect no mix-ups or anything like that. That's the cool thing about overdrive got cancelled. That's the gist of the last point that you need to know. This is like a super oppressive mechanic, but kind of forces play. You don't always have your overdrive, so sometimes they can run over you. Creates that sort of gameplay. The other thing is, because there are... how do I phrase this? Every character has pressure that is like versus overdrive or free from overdrive. This kind of works universally in other themes from the pressure, meaning that like if I go to Ragna, if I find him again, and let's go to Taokaka. I think that's a pretty good example. Each character kind of shares a lot of restrictions or frame data for certain things. So like Ragna has this vanilla overhead, right? You can't do it from every button, right? Okay, you can do it from this, you can do it from jabs. You can't do it from the sword normal. Oh well, you can do it from this one, right? So there's like restrictions in places in the pressure, and those restrictions will usually overlap close to the overdrive safe pressure or not. Sorry, something got caught. I'm talking too much. So, Ragnar's going to do like something like this, and then he's going to stop because he's checking your overdrive. This is kind of usually also the point where like they can go into an overhead. So let's say you don't have overdrive. Well, what are the general rules, right? Overheads in this game, they're kind of safe on block because they lead to usually other Gatlings or are straight up plus. Or they don't necessarily lead to like a pressure reset, but they're just like, no, okay, you block the overhead, cool, but it's still my turn. What you need to do instead is deal with the vanilla mix-ups, we'll call it, because there are characters that completely ignore these rules. The vanilla mix-ups in Blazblue, either your opponent going up for a throw, doing an overhead, or this type of overhead, you can kind of chicken block them. So, Tao is no exception. This is her vanilla overhead. She can't do it from everything. She can do it from this button, but like, she can't do it from that. She can do it from the jabs, right? Pretty predictable spot, but if you block the overhead, still hurt her. Right? I didn't do it right, but still hurt her. So one thing that you can do in this game overall is, let's say I have Tower doing this string. Right. You can kind of learn to chicken block correctly. and that way you'll at least like not have to deal or react to the overhead. Sure, most of them you can kind of just smash, but that's kind of risky. So a lot of the pressure in the game is structured so that you have to escape before the thing connects. Otherwise, you still have to block for a little bit, right? And if you do that right, like, you can actually escape quite a lot of things. Apparently Tao hits pretty high above her, but if Ragna goes like, hey, I'm gonna do this, you can jump out of it. Right? Those rules are semi-universal, like I said. It'll be the exception. Some character will have a resource that lets them break this rule, but for the most part, this rule is something that you can take from one matchup to the other. So if you're playing your friend and he's playing Ragna and you're like, this is how Ragna's pressure works, turns out kind of behind the scenes it's everyone's pressure, and it's not that obvious at first, but it does help you learn a lot of the system a little bit faster. So that was my last point. Overdrive guard cancel, great versus high commitment moves later in the pressure if they're overextending. And if you don't have it, then the mix-ups have gaps that let you escape it rather than punish a mix-up attempt or something like that. Like, mix-up is generally safe once it is blocked. It needs to be escaped before it connects. That was it. I've posted some links on stream. I might post those on the YouTube whenever this is uploaded there, on the YouTube video in the description. I think it was mostly Mendo's channel. But yeah, that concludes the video. I hope you enjoy your time with BBCF rollback. This is a great game. It runs super deep. Might not be everyone's cup of tea. And I hope these things help you understand it a little bit better, right? It's a lot of little quirky things that Blazblue players can just run you over because you don't know. But really, it's not that complex to get into. You just need to know, and you just need to internalize them. But the game is still fun even if you don't know these. It's probably just a little more fun, or a little more even of a matchup when you play versus someone who knows these. So let me know if that helped, and yeah, bye-bye.